the vast difference in pay between places. What is going on, everybody? It is Bryce, your favorite A&P IA and Part 147 instructor, back again with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about 3 more things that suck for aircraft mechanics and 2 more things that I love about being an aircraft mechanic. Now, my last video on this was called 5 things that suck for A&Ps, and I'd like to address that. If you haven't watched that video, I'll probably try to link it to this video. Go and give it a watch. I will admit that I was very early in my career of making YouTube videos, and I was trying to make better videos as YouTube told me to make. So it is a little exaggerated. It is a little I'm not gonna say clickbaity because it's not really clickbaity, but it is a little exaggerated. But a lot of the information in there was true. I talked about working long hours, overtime. I talked about the safety factor, that the job can sometimes be dangerous, and some of those things. So go and give that one a watch. And this video is going to be 3 more things that I suck for being an aircraft mechanic and 2 things that I love about being an aircraft mechanic. And before I'm going to start, I'm going to qualify this with saying that I have been in aviation maintenance for about 10 years. I've always done general aviation, but a lot of my experiences for these videos is coming from friends of mine who are major airline mechanics and or repair station mechanics and that kind of thing. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but I hope you find this video interesting. So let's get into it. The first thing that can suck for aircraft mechanics is shift work. So what is shift work if you don't already know? First shift, second shift, and third shift. Third shift would be what you call your night shift, typically 8 at night to 7 in the morning or something like that, right? But a third shift is what everyone calls night shift. Obviously, second shift is your evening shift, and first shift is the shift that everybody wants. Well, here's why that sucks. It's not uncommon for people to get stuck on night shift or second shift for 5, 10 years and end up working night shift for a long time. And if night shift is not something you want to work, obviously that's going to suck quite a bit. The good news is that with how much the industry is growing, how many people are retiring, lots of day shift positions, first shift and second shift, are opening and coming available all over. And I know guys who got their A&P, started on nights, and were at a major airline on a day shift within about a year or 2. So that has gotten better, but do expect the trend as the industry need is filled to sort of get worse, if you will. The second thing that I'm going to go ahead and say that sucks for being an aircraft mechanic is how long it actually takes to make good money. Now, I will say that airlines are paying $35 an hour starting. I know United is paying $35, $38. A lot of these places are offering signing bonuses right now, and that's really good wages. But if you want to be an aircraft mechanic, you really only have 2 options to become one, and watch my videos on that. But you can either go through an approved 147 school like the one I teach at, or you can get 3 years of practical experience OJT and then get signed off the test. But either way, you're going to face the same problem. You're going to a 16 to 18 month program with no paycheck that's going to take up 8 hours of your day, actually 9 hours of your day, every single day until you finish that program. And then you can test, get your A&P. The testing process is probably going to cost you close to $1,500 just to test, plus all your school costs. I know some 147 schools, if they're not public, the one that I teach at is a public school, so you get tuition assistance from the state and other things like that, and it ends up being about $15,000 total for the whole program. Other programs are 45, some are 30, some are 35. So it's really a lot of money you got to spend to be devoted 9 hours a day somewhere trying to get trained to become an A&P. And the only other option really is to go through 3 years of OJT, making not as good of money because you don't have an airframe and power plant certificate, but you have to get the experience to get the airframe and power plant certificate. So actually getting from not an A&P to an A&P can take a lot of time. And I think this is why a lot of guys just never get it. There's plenty of aircraft mechanics out there working for repair stations and other places under a repairman certificate issued by that repair station simply because they're making pretty good money, and to go through the process of getting an A&P would take so much time. It just never feels worth it. But if you can strike while the iron's hot and get it done, it's something I'd very, very strongly recommend, that you do get your A&P certificate. I've always said in my other videos that it's going to lend you a lot more job security. Which brings me to my third thing that can suck for aircraft mechanics. Really, I'm not going to say the only place, but really the only place that there is good money in aviation is either major airlines or overseas contract work. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with overseas contract work. I know there's a lot of people out there that make 6 figures a year doing it. I can't really speak on it though. However, for the airlines, I will say most airlines are paying people, like I said, $30 to $35 an hour starting and getting up to $40 an hour within about a year, 2 years of getting hired. And at that rate with overtime, it's not uncommon for guys to be making close to 6 figures a year. And even after 4 or 5 years of experience, being up in that $120,000, $140,000 a year range. Now, granted, there's a lot of hours that come with that. But the third thing here is the vast difference in pay between places. So, like I just said, the airlines are really where all the money's at, and it's great money. But if you go to StandardAero, and I love StandardAero, but you go to StandardAero, which is a repair station that overhauls turbine engines, depending on your mechanic level, you're probably going to be making between $45 and $65 a year, just depending on how long you've been there, and it's actually based on years of experience with the company. So you get paid on your years of experience there, and they do have good benefits, but there's nowhere near as much. And then there's other, maintenance bases that do heavies maintenance, and they might pay $17, $18 an hour. So there's this huge disparity from one place to another in how much they pay, and then they wonder why everybody wants to work for the airlines. Well, because the airlines are where the money's at, and really other places, I won't say anyone by name, but other places that don't pay their mechanics, even guys that have been there 5-6 years, more than $25 an hour. Let's face it, you're not going to get good quality work, and you're not going to get good quality mechanics, because for $25 an hour, I'm not going to go in there and put in my best effort. I'm going to go do that at a job that's willing to pay me what I am worth. So the two more things that I absolutely love about being an aircraft mechanic. The first is just how rewarding the job is. Now, like I said, I am a general aviation mechanic, but to take something that's broken, and I've said this before on the channel plenty of times, but to take something that's broken, unairworthy, and not safe, and to take it from that condition and move all the way forward to a condition where not only is it airworthy, it's safe, which obviously safe is part of airworthy, but not only is it airworthy, but all of the problems are solved. Everything's working on it like it's supposed to, like the Cessna 172 project that I just finished. It's really, really rewarding. Now, I've always enjoyed challenges and puzzles and things that really work my mind, and aircraft have always done a good job of doing that for me. If you've been watching my videos for a while, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but you may not have picked up on the fact that I did sort of struggle with ADHD throughout my life, but I've always been able to focus working on airplanes. I've always been able to focus down on what I'm doing, read the manuals, go through the processes, follow the steps, and it's always just something that's come really natural to me, and I've loved doing it. Even working out in the heat, working out in the rain, working out long hours, getting called in on Friday and working an 18-hour shift, or because we had to do a 100-hour inspection on one of the flight school airplanes before Saturday. Yeah, those things have happened, but it's always been really rewarding to finish that shift and go home and hang my head high knowing that I achieved something at that day of work. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have gotten paid a lot more money for that, but I worked for a flight school at the time, so it is what it is. And the second thing I love about being an aircraft mechanic, and again, this is also going to sound really cheesy, is all of the people and all of the friends that I have made along the way. God, that sounded cheesy, but I am serious. I've met a lot of really cool people, pilots, other mechanics, people who've been doing it for a lot of years, people who just started doing it, in all age groups. All kinds of people become aircraft mechanics, and it's really a fun industry. People help one another out. We give each other a hard time, but aircraft mechanics, there's just sort of a mutual respect between everyone. And it's one of those really enjoyable positions where, and obviously I've got all these, silly tattoos on my arm, but I have a lot of people walk up to me and they'll ask me if I'm a pilot or if I'm a mechanic, and I'll tell them, I'm a mechanic. And you'd be surprised how many aircraft mechanics have walked up to me in public and just started a conversation with me because they noticed my arm, and we start talking airplanes, and it's just sort of this mutually understood respect and this mutually understood knowledge of everything that goes into airworthiness and everything that does go into being an aircraft mechanic. So, as always, my recommendation is this. If you want to become an aircraft mechanic, get out there and do it. It's one of the greatest fields I think you can get into. There's good money in it. There's good benefits in it. It's really rewarding. And ultimately, it's not something that takes a whole lot of education, and it's not something that takes a whole lot of effort to do. Now, I'm lying to you. The test and all of that process is very difficult. I've done a lot of videos on those, so if this is the first video you're watching with me, make sure you go watch one of those videos. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the Discord. I should say join the Discord, I think is how that goes. Join the Discord, go build something, and be easy.